I think.
Right.
Lake Villains.
That's right. When I compare, no, I'm really happy that everyone in this room, well, I just met you, but like these guys who I've known like since a long time, that you're still sitting across me right now. You're not in jail. You're not dead, because there is a lot of Lake Villain homies that we won't, that we will never see again. And that easily could have been
Jimmy Bowie, Jake Lenz.
That could have, and that
Andrew
I feel like,
Fisher.
Yeah, I feel like that easily could have been any of us if we didn't go down the right path.
For sure. A lot of friends. I think everybody goes through loss, but personally, like I personally feel like I've experienced more loss than a lot of people, but just our friend group alone has experienced more loss. Like not many people that I've met have lost like 7 friends by the time they turn 20.
Oh, like it's this close to friends. Like Lenz was fucking like a brother.
Yeah, dude.
To a wooden horse here. You know, that's one thing
He's like, a brother to all of us.
Yeah, I'm dreading that day will come, but like I've experienced loss, but not that like super close, like like mom or dad and still around loss. So like that person who's like a brother or sister to me lost. Like that, I feel like that's also one of the tragedies that everyone like experiences at some point in their life, you know.
I've had it really puts this like, especially like I experienced my grandpa's death at a very young age. It was in elementary school, and for the longest time he was like my best friend. Like I would go over their house all the time. We would watch John Wayne, and he was a really big influence on my life, and he had Alzheimer's really bad. And the last time we went to visit him, he didn't remember us like pretty much throughout the time he had Alzheimer's until the last time we visited him. And he said, "I love my grandson." He's like, "I know I'm leaving, and I just want you to know." Like, he never remembered us. And that really, really hit me hard. And but it like early on, it put in perspective how fragile life is. So like it's hard for me to cry at funerals now, just because I'm kind of desensitized. We all have experienced so much loss, way more than the people at our age averagely. Like something about our town, we lost a lot of really good young and like we were all hoodlums, kids that got into trouble, but like I'm super here. Like I'm super
like I said, we were able to all like break out of that life at some point, and we're able to like mature for a little bit. I think Jimmy probably struggled the most at first because you were homeless and had a really bad I didn't talk to. That's for like, I wouldn't say we had a falling out, but we would just go up, and I didn't talk or hear from Jimmy from years, you know? Like
I was with Jimmy through most of that, but I also I was also in Oregon, but he would call me all the time. I personally feel like I was hopefully a big push to him getting sober from
There's
alcohol.
a lot of people. There's a lot of people.
But there was not a lot of people stuck by him, which I am angry at a lot of people.
Because I don't give a shit. I was terrible.
I mean, but like
I wouldn't hung out with me.
You were there for so many people growing up, and just to see how many people just turned face on you when you were going through a hard time. And I mean, granted, like I wasn't there, so I couldn't because I was across the country, but
you picked up the phone when he needed you to. Like sometimes that's all you have to do. You maybe you don't even have to physically be there, but just answer the phone when they call you. Talk to them. Yeah.
And I always I make it a point, like out in Oregon, I'm by myself pretty much because Kat moved back, you know, before Kat moved back. We like all our friends in the area live super far away, and like I'm trying to penny pinch, save money. So I'm alone with my dog and my cat 90% of the time after work. So I try to make it a point to call a homie, like video call a homie, take a dab with somebody, you know, just chat for a little bit, stay connected regardless of the situation, if they're in a good time or a bad time. But it's just all about staying connected and just seeing people turn around and kind of not pay attention, you know. Like that.
Ben's a real friend, for sure. Ben's you can always count on.
I feel the same way about you, Jimbo Slice.
Hey, thanks.
Air horns. We need to get you a soundboard, dog.
Yeah, my buddies told me that. I feel like I would just...
You need all the fans.
I would want to do it after like every 2 minutes. It would just be the podcast of air horns the whole time.
Explosions on the screen and stuff. Yeah. You need like a whole special.
To me, I thought about it. It just feels kind of cheesy.
Well, that's the
point. You want it to be super cheesy.
There's a really good podcast I like to listen to. It's called Kill Tony. It's on the Death Squad network. And it's like almost like an American Idol style comedy show. People get their names pulled out of a bucket, and they get 60 seconds uninterrupted to do comedy, whether they've done it for 10 years or first time. And they have Brian Redban. He has the soundboard. He's really good with it. I highly recommend it. Like if you're they do your comedy set and then they interview you afterwards. So like if you do really good, like it's mostly praises and good jokes.
Yeah.
And like if you do terrible, they roast the fuck out of you. It's fantastic. And they have like famous guests and comedians come on. Joe Rogan's been on it, drunk as fuck, with Freddie Gibbs right after their podcast recently. And Freddie Gibbs and Brian Moses were just roasting an absolutely hammered Joe Rogan about the video coming out that's saying he was using the N-word and stuff, and he was just taking it, and it was a good time. I highly recommend it, regardless of your feelings about Joe Rogan, if you like him or not. Like that episode of Kill Tony was fantastic, just because if you want to hear Joe Rogan get shit on by like professional
so if
people,
you hate Joe Rogan, it sounds like
listen to that episode.
Yeah.
I like to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast just because he has interesting people on it.
Dude,
like, regardless of how I feel, like I know how to keep my opinions separate from other people's.
So I don't listen to him as much anymore. But like, okay, I honestly, dude, I first discovered Joe Rogan like when I was 24, 25, like 6-7 years ago now. Yeah. Well, he wasn't as big. And dude, I used to listen to that dude fucking religiously.
I listen to most of the episodes. I look at I just want to see who he's talking to, because he knows how to interview people.
Yeah,
you know, like,
he does.
Regardless of your stance on politics or whatever, like he's just asking questions that are interesting, and it makes you ask questions.
He's the best at stepping into someone else's world. Like especially with some really fucking smart people.
I don't know,
too. You know,
man.
You got all these
Mark
doctors
Maron.
and
you know who Mark Maron is?
I listen to Mark Maron's podcast too.
I like him.
I don't know. Lex, what about Lex Friedman? You guys like him?
I haven't heard, like, I've listened to him on the Rogan podcast a couple times, but I haven't listened to his podcast.
Yeah.
I kind of strictly try to keep it to comedians.
Yeah.
Just because I like to.
You like to laugh a little bit.
Yeah, I like having a good time.
His pod is like, I would say, more serious, and he gets some smart motherfuckers on there. One thing that Rogan does that's good, when he brings smartest people on, he's able to get them to like articulate things in a way like just simple-minded people like us can understand it though. Yeah. Lex Friedman, sometimes like the conversation she'll be having will be like over your head. Yeah. Like, and you
big words, hard to understand.
Yeah. Check out the WTF podcast with Mark Maron. I think he's really like I mean, he's solid. So he's got like an episode of Steve-O. He's some really good.
Steve-O's got a good podcast. Steve-O's Wild Ride. Oh my God.
Steve-O is best image for recovery, I think.
Oh yeah.
Like he went from like, you know, there's a whole documentary just following Steve-O.
Yeah.
Like
he does go deep into it
and then
on his podcast as well.
He was on Rogan too. I remember. I listened to that one. I'm pretty sure.
I highly recommend his. It's called Steve-O's Wild Ride. He's got RV or tour bus that he decked out into a podcast studio, and he drives to the guests because it's so hard to get people into a studio, you know, these days. So he'll drive to you. You bang out an hour and a half podcast, and then he goes on his way. You know?
I haven't read it yet, but if you go to Steve-O's website, I have it. I own an autographed copy of Steve-O because.
Have you guys watched the new Jackass movie at all?
I haven't yet.
The new one,
haven't watched. Hella dongs.
Hella dongs. I'm not surprised.
Dope.
I heard Poopies was the breakout star in that. The new dude Poopies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he got attacked by a shark in real life on their Shark Week episode. Fucked up. He was on Steve-O's podcast recently. I was listening to it at work. That dude, like, they were he was trying to jump sharks in the ocean, but they were chumming the water. So like every time something hit the water, they were like food, so they'd attack.
Yeah.
So when he hit the water, they were like
they just
food,
attacked.
and they attacked and fucked up his hand for the rest of life. But now he's fucking famous.
that sounds like a deal with the devil.
His name is Poopy.
Yeah, the story behind it is really funny. He explained it in depth on Steve-O's podcast, but basically, like, he hated the nickname, but it came from him putting on a gorilla mask and hands and going to an intersection as a young child, being a hoodlum like we were, and taking a shit in an intersection and then running off. And then everyone just called him Poopies, and he hated it.
What a legend.
And now he's famous.
He's always remembered as the kid that took a shit in the middle of the interstate.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
When he's on his deathbed, that's what he's gonna be thinking about. That was my claim to fame.
Yep.
Taking that
now it's
shit
getting
on
bit by a shark and
494.
being on Jackass.
Yeah.
As a guy named.
All right, everyone. Well, we're like 2 hours in here.
Oh,
Pretty quick.
I'm hungry. I'm
pretty hungry too.
Aren't you gonna make us?
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's right.